Thank you guys for joining and attending the Creo for Industrial Design presentation presented by Boundary Systems. All right, so the objective is to demo how Creo can be used for industrial design. We'll do a brief introduction and we'll cover how to model in Freestyle. We'll look at publish and copy geometry. We'll take a look at skeleton model framework, a little bit of top-down design, and then we'll go into ISDX, interactive surface design extension, and standard surfacing tools, and then get into a little bit of Q&A as well. My name is Bill. I focus in industrial design and rendering. A little bit about us as a company. We're a tech leader. Some partners of ours include PTC, Etraj, and other tech companies. We are one of the 16 fastest growing companies. Let's see here. Let me know if you guys have sound. I'm getting a response that you guys aren't hearing me, which you should, because I've turned my mic on and started the presentation here. So let me know. Alicia, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Bill.
One moment, guys. Let's just check on the audio here a second. Okay, so I got a response here that says that I can be heard, so that's good. So I'll continue. Okay, some capabilities of ours include PLM, CAD design and consulting, simulation, and product development. Oops, sorry here, skipped ahead. Yep, and product development. Some industry awards of ours include the Inc. 5000, Weatherhead 100, and some major accreditations are the PTC Platinum Partnership, Windchill Certified Implementer, PTC Preferred Service Provider, and we are PTC authorized and certified training partners for Creo, Windchill, MathCAD, and Arbortext. Some software solutions that we provide, of course, are the PTC software suite or software solutions, Tacton, Moldx 3D, Xformation, Etraj, ITI, ZWCAD, T-Shot, Sigmaxum, and Cimerix. Here's a list of what we're going to cover again today. All right, so the first, Creo Parametric offers stylized designs with intuitive freestyle design. Using Freestyle is much like modeling with clay. You begin with a primitive shape and then you use a 3D dragger to push and pull, just as you begin a sculpture. You don't have to worry about a patch structure or require expert CAD skills. So that's exactly right. So you can see that I have two examples of designs that I've created with Freestyle. The first one at the top there is a car design that I created in Freestyle, and at the bottom you see I have a shoot design that I did there. So so basically, you know, it allows you to, like it says up in the paragraph there, you can push and pull kind of like you would imagine a sculptor would do with clay. It really allows you a quick, it takes a little while to get used to it and to learn it. But if you spend a couple of weeks in it or a month, whatever it takes, once you get by that learning curve using the application or using that feature, really increases your concept, you know, development time, and allows you to really, you know, I use ideation to push your designs forward and create really unique and complex surfaces. Okay. All right. So here's an example up here as well on this slide where we have a, you know, progression here from left to right, where we have a very primitive kind of shape of this shoe, and then as we work in Freestyle, it develops a little bit by little, and then we get a more detailed mesh here to the right. And then finally, we have a render that we did in Keyshot using the Creo Keyshot plugin. You can see that down here to the right. Keyshot plugin, yeah, we'll kind of touch on this just quickly. This is a very unique tool where it allows you to basically integrate Creo with Keyshot. So if you have an assembly of components, you can basically go to applications or go to the Keyshot plugin and go to render and render it, and it will basically open up Keyshot with your assembly model in Keyshot. Then you can go and add materials, adjust your lighting and that kind of thing. Okay, and then we'll get into just a little bit of the skeleton model framework, top-down design. So, this is a great way to basically create a skeleton model with a lot of your datums, curves, surfaces, and then use that to kind of push or create your parts and move changes from the skeleton model to the components and move all those changes downstream. The ISDX Interactive Surface Design Extension, the Creo Interactive Surface Design Extension, ISDX, delivers the ultimate integration of 3D design and engineering by combining the power of parametric modeling with the flexibility of freeform surfacing. You can now create complex freeform curves and surfaces directly with a single intuitive interactive design environment. All right, so let's go right into it then. And the first thing that I'm going to go into is the Freestyle environment. So let's go to that window. So you can see right here, and I'm basically using an example of a Freestyle mesh that I already created. And if we go to the View tab, we have the ability to bring in images to use as a reference when we're developing our model. So basically we have, our right, top, and front planes. And if I go to import, right, I can select the plane that I want to import the image on, in this case, the front plane. And then from here, I can go in here and select which image I want to project on that front plane. Okay. You also have the option to scale your image. So if you have a specific size that you need the model to be created in, you can select that plane. Then you can go to fit, horizontal, and vertical, and then you can basically adjust the size of your image by dragging these. Once you have your images sized, you can click OK. All right, and then from here, what we have to do is we're going to go back to the Model tab and go to the Freestyle environment. So from here, what we're basically going to do is bring in a primitive shape. So I'll go up here to Shapes, and I'll bring in a cube, and I'm going to use that kind of as my starting point. So right now it's kind of huge, so I'll just right-click, go to Scale, and I'll scale that down to about there. That's not too bad. Maybe a little bit more, okay? Then right-click, go to Transform. So the idea is that we can quickly kind of sculpt with these primitive shapes. So we got one there, and I'm going to kind of go in this view and then drag this to my starting point about there. We can extrude the face. So I can grab a face and extrude. I can grab an edge or a datum point or a vertex, sorry, and move that. So basically what you want to do from here is kind of just start sculpting this out. And then from here, I'll take this surface, right click and extrude that. And extrude again, and extrude once more. Okay, so right here you can see that we've kind of started developing this by going into the side view and laying this out. And then from here, I'm going to start to align this mesh, this subdivision surface to the images that I brought in. So let's go ahead and move this one here. Let's align this guy. All right, and you'll see that, I need a little bit more detail in this area because I'm not quite matching what I'm seeing in this image. So if I go in my left view, or in this case, in my right view, all right, you can see that I'm not quite matching here, right? So what I'll do is I'll grab an edge, I'll right click and say split, all right? And then now I have another edge that I can use. I can drag that down, all right? Start to define this a little bit more. And then same thing here. And I'll grab this front edge as well, drag that down. Okay, so you can see that we just started to develop the profile here, the shape, but we have a little bit more to add. So let's grab this top face, hold Control and grab that face. Then from here, we can right click, say extrude. Right, and again, you can see that very easily and quickly we start to develop the shape of this. So let's move that up to right here. I'm not going to try to match exactly what I have in the images, but we'll kind of get kind of close there. So let's bring that up to there maybe, and let's drag this guy up. Or actually, let's drag these edges down. We're gonna try to match that profile. So that's good right there. And maybe we'll pull that up a little bit. Take that edge. And we'll bring that back. Okay, so you can see that very easily and quickly we can start to develop this shape. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into this top view. All right, and I'm going to start to develop the profile in this top view. So I may say that, hey, you know what? I don't really have enough geometry here to develop this model further. So again, if I want, so I can grab this edge, for example, right click, subdivide, and then I have a little bit more to work with, right? So I can say, hey, you know what? I need to start to define the shape from this top view. So now I can grab, that point down there, for example, right? I can drag that out to here. All right. Grab that point there at the bottom, drag that. Obviously, this is going to take some time. We'll drag that out a little bit as well. Grab that point. Right, and then that same thing, we're gonna come in here as well, and we're just gonna start to drag these outward until we start getting the shape that we want. And here as well. So you're basically, using all views here to kind of get a feel for the shape. And it is a very, intuitive kind of process. And that's why they compare it to using clay, right? Because it's really kind of intuitive and artistic, and just, it takes a real feel or, intuition after you've used it for a while to create these shapes, right? Right, so same thing there. I got my profile here to the right, and I may have to adjust that a little bit. Right, and then same thing here on this side. I'm just going to grab those bottom points first. Go to my top view and take a look. All right, so let's start there. Okay, and then again, it's just now coming in here, right, and grabbing some points, for example, and we'll start to define this shape a little bit. All right, so that's not bad. We can also select, let's actually select this top square, this face, and this face, right? And we'll right click and we'll go to split. And we're basically just going to split the actual faces themselves. So it says split the selected faces into 5 faces with an offset of 25%. There's 50%, right? So you can split it. I'm going to use that 25% option. All right, and then from here, I can actually drag this down and start to kind of shape my shoe a little bit here. Then I'll split that again. Right, and I'll start to grab these faces. I can even get rid of faces. So if I want to delete these faces that I selected, I can right click and go to delete and delete those. All right, and then from here, I'm gonna grab that surface and this surface, right, and this surface. And I might even actually just grab one edge, right click, and then split that like this. All right, and then from here, I'll grab an edge here, this edge. I'm gonna move that over, or I can just grab the same ones on both sides, right click and go to scale, and then use the arrow to scale that and move those out closer towards the edge. And then from here, I can grab these squares, right? And I can go to transform and then start to drop these down a bit, right? So very quickly, you can see we can start to define, the shape of the shoe here, okay? Then also, if I want to kind of round out the back here, I can grab these edges. Here and here, and kind of move those in. And that's going to start to round out the back there. Okay. We can even create a little stylized or a stylistic kind of strap here, right? So if I grab this face and this one, and I'll do a split right here, then also I'll right click and extrude that. And you can see that right now I'm in smooth mode, right? So it's taking the hard edges and kind of creating a smooth surface. If I come up here, I can select on box mode, and that gives me this hard edge box mode to model in. And sometimes this is a little bit, this helps in modeling, gives me a harder edge to kind of see what exactly I'm doing here. So I'm going to grab these edges as well, and I'm going to move these out a little bit, and then just select this guy here. I'm going to move this guy up, rotate it, move him back here. Right, I can actually take that face, rotate that face in both directions there and get it where I want it. All right, that's not bad. And then from here, let's grab this edge and let's just move this guy up a bit. Right there. Again, we're just kind of grabbing the edges and the points here, pushing and pulling a little bit. Let's grab that edge. Move that in a bit. Okay, so this is where I'm at currently right now. And what I'm going to do is I can now grab this surface and that surface, right click, right? And I can say connect or join. I'll use connect. And there it is. We now just created this little strap here. I can take an edge, right click, subdivide it, right? And now if I go back into smooth mode, right, you can see that we are now creating this very stylistic dress shoe design. I can take this guy, drag that out as well. All right, so it's very easy to kind of start manipulating this mesh and you know, pushing and pulling and sculpting here. Okay, and notice also that we can change from hard edge to smooth. So you can see here, an example is if I grab these edges and select these, it's currently set to hard in the crease group. But if I grab all these guys, right, come up here, let's grab these as well. I can come up here and say, hey, I don't want these to be hard. Let's make these soft. And I'll click the little soft node, little white circle there. And now you can see we have a nice rounded, soft edge there. Okay. And if I want to create like a little cut on the side of the shoe as well, right? It's very easy to come in here now, collect these, right click, you know, do an inset, and then take the arrow and push those in a little bit, right? Okay. So now let's exit this. Let's go to the top in the ribbon, click OK, right? And now you can see, let me hide our planes. Pretty quickly, you know, we can start to develop the overall shape and design of our shoe here, right? I have another example of one that's more finished than this one. Should look about the same. Let's go to Freestyle 1 and resume that, right? And here's another example where it's a little bit more smoothed out, right? Okay, not too bad. All right, so now let's take a look at, okay, so now that you've designed this freestyle model subdivision surface, you know, what else can I do with it? So let's go up here to Windows and let's go to the that I created. And what's neat is that if you want to break this the freestyle mesh up into individual like components or parts, you can do that. So one way to do that is to use publish geometry. So if I go to the model intent group, publish geometry, I can click that, right? And I'll just use the ones I've created as an example. Publish geometry, there's a couple that I have here in the model tree. Let's go to edit, definition, and then from here you can see that I basically gone in here and selected the surfaces that I want to use or that I want to publish, right? So the idea of this, here's one surface set, and then here's another one below, right? So the idea of this is, number one, I can take this freestyle mesh that I created, split it up into different like components, and then I can also share these published features, right? So now that I have 2 of them, I've got published geometry 1 and 2, I can now share this. So what I mean by that is, let's switch to the next window. All right, let's go into this one, not that one. Here we go. So basically what I've done is I've published the components or the sections of the shoe that I wanted to publish. I basically imported that and created different parts with those. So for example, in the component group in the ribbon, I could go to create and I created all these different parts, right? Shoe 1 through 58, right? So if I go into shoe 1, activate that part and go into external copy geometry, edit definition, right? Let's see here. So let's create that. It's going to want the reference model. So give me 1 second here so I can find that. Okay. Yeah. So in this case right here, you can see that I basically took what I published from the one model and I imported it into a part using copy geom. So the first thing that you do is take your mesh and you use publish geom to publish out those surfaces, you know, parts of your model, and you copy those into your individual parts. So from here, I made sure that I had selected publish geometry only, selected that, and then set the reference type to external to reference an external model, right? And then I open up that model and basically selected which one I wanted to bring into this part, selected that from the window, right? And then you can see here as well, that tab's not working, but if I grab that, right, you can see I actually copied that into it. So right now that shoe 1 has that published surface. I copied that into shoe 1, and it's now showing up as the external copy geom. Okay. So once you have these for all of your different parts, you know, this whole range that you see here, you can go to Keyshot. In this case, Keyshot 10, render, and click on render. And then right from here, you'll see it'll go right to Keyshot, right? Then you can quickly start going into here, finding materials, colors that you want to add to the model. So for example, here's a plastic. I can grab that material, you know, drag and drop that on the model very quickly. All right. And then if I go here, let's go to open. All right, we can see that we already have one completed for us. Let's go to open. Discard that guy. All right. And you can see it's going to take a little while to render, but the whole point here is that, and I'll close out Keyshot, is that, you know, you can go quickly, right, from Creo to Keyshot, and then any changes that you make within Creo will then be updated within Keyshot. So it's a nice back and forth. So this is kind of nice, allows you to quickly develop your design and also, you know, experiment with colors, materials, lighting, right? And then once you get the kind of the overall feel for your product, you know, you can start to kind of piece some things together. So now let's switch to all right, so this is an assembly with a skeleton part. So the idea of this is that within the skeleton part, you develop your surfaces, sketches, your sketch framework, datums, and then once you develop all these here, you can basically use that skeleton to create your different parts, right? So you can see that I have this skeleton part here. If I grab on this surface or these style features, I can click on hide, but also note if I go to my first component here, I have an external copy geometry part. I'll unhide that and show it. And this is directly related to or associated to the surfaces created in the skeleton part. So the neat thing is that it's all associative, right? So any changes that I make to the skeleton part will also transfer downstream to these parts that I've created, right? So if I go into this external copy geom9, edit definition, references, right, you can see that if I pull this up, right, the surfaces that I'm using in this component, right, are coming from that skeleton part, and we can see it here in this field that we have selected. All right, click on cancel there. So the idea here is that we can create a framework again that we can use to create kind of a top-down design methodology, so that we have a framework of components, again, whether it's a surface, datum plane, axis, an edge chain, whatever it is, we can create all that stuff here and then use that geometry, reference that geometry in these parts here. Right? So let's go ahead up here to the skeleton model, activate that part. And you can see that we already have some planes created here, surfaces that we're going to use to trim these groups. We'll hide these for now. All right. And we have this whole sketched framework, right? So we have sketch 1. You can see that we have a bunch of dimensions here. Same thing with sketch 2, right? Sketch 3, right? And let's unhide the sketch 2 or the style 2 feature. And then we also have these different style curves. So we have the normal surfacing environment where we have like our boundary blends for creating patches. We have fill. We have, extending a surface, offsetting a surface, thickening a surface, solidify, merge, right? We have all these normal surfacing tools, but we also have this style feature, which is kind of neat because within that one style feature, at a definition, we'll see that we can create a series of different curves and surfaces, right? And all the curves and surfaces that we create within the style feature remain and stay within the style feature. So it helps keep things in order. It's kind of like its own environment, right, for surfacing. So we have creating a curve, arc, circle, drop curve, which is similar to projecting a curve. We have curve by intersections. If you have planes or surfaces that intersect each other, you can create curves from that. You have offset curve, mirror, surface trim. So we have different tools in here, right? So what we're seeing here is basically, if I go into like style 2, for example, and we'll edit definition there, we basically have these different curves that I created, right, linked to the normal sketching framework, right? So what's cool about that is if I go outside of the style feature and I select, sketch 4, for example, right? If I go in here and I change this dimension from 15 to 20, regenerate the model, right? You'll see that because this curve that was made within the style feature, because that curve is linked, right, to sketch 4, any changes that I made to the sketch will change the shape that was created within the style feature, right? Let's go back into there. Let's change that to 15 again. Regenerate, and we'll see that that edge or that vertice comes back in, and that changes shape, right? What we also have within the style feature is this 4-view layout, which is kind of nice. So if I grab this, select this button, you can see that we have our top view, front view, isometric view, and our side view here. I can deselect that, right? I can scale this as well. If I want to zoom into one view or the other, I can adjust this, all right? Pull it from the center, scale it, just turn it off. All right, so let's take a look at creating a curve. We already have some curves created. We have this surface created within the style feature. If I select this surface, I can go into edit, definition, and then from here you can see that we're actually using, 5 chains. So if I go over here to this tab, you can see that we have chains 1, 2, 3, and 4, and those are like the boundary chains, right? These are what determine the actual edges of the boundary of that surface, right? But we also have another chain that we're using to define the shape, right? We also have this internal chain that we see right here, right? So what's nice here is I can actually create more internal chains. So if I go into curve, I'll just create some more curves here. All right, and now if I go into these 3 curves, let's just use the bottom 2 here. I'll right click, add a midpoint, add one there, and then same thing here, right? Add midpoint, right? So now I can actually go in here, I can grab these points. Let's go into my front view, all right? And you can see that very easily, and I can start to kind of pull these in and start to define my shape a little bit. All right, there's that. Let's click OK. All right, and now we see that little dip or that indentation that we created in that surface. All right. Right. We can also like project as well. So if I want to create a little cut within here, I can do that. So let's exit out of this feature and let's go into our right plane. And I'm just going to create another plane offset here. Let me make sure I'm pulling that before my style feature. Okay, so now we have that plane created. All right, and I'm going to set that new plane as our active plane. So I'm going to set active plane, grab that datum 7 plane, and go into my left view. Right, and I also have the circle option, right? So if I want to create a circle and start to develop the shape of my cutout, I can do that here. I'll place one there and then place one more here to the right. I'll go into my curves and make sure I'm creating my curves on my plane. So there's the on plane option or planar curve. We'll snap here to here. And we'll create another one here. And we'll snap there and there. Okay, so now I'm not going to need these circles anymore, so let's just get rid of those. All right, and I'll go into curve again, and I'm going to create a curve here. And I'll create another curve here. Let's create one on the right side here. Okay, so once we have these curves, now let's go into each curve and adjust the tangency. So I'm going to grab this top endpoint of the curve, and I'll right-click this tangent handle, and I'll say I want that to be curvature continuous. Same thing down here. All right. That looks good. And let's do the same on this side here. And then grab that point. That looks about right. Okay, so now we have that profile that we created. And from here, we can project that onto the surface that we created. So let's go to drop curve, and we'll select this curve, and we'll choose a surface to project that onto, and choose that surface. And we'll use that datum plane 7 as a reference. That looks good. So that projection is completed, and then from here, we'll use surface trim. And I'll select my surface, and I'll choose which curve to use to create our trim. Oh, not that one. I want to use that one and this one. And then now we'll select a surface to remove. Let's choose that surface and remove that. Okay, so now we have that cut created. Let's go to OK. And then here's where we're going to start to kind of combine the ISDX surfacing tools with our normal surfacing tools. Let's grab this surface, and we'll actually create a copy of the surface. Let's go to copy up top here and paste it. But this time we want to create a paste, but we don't want this cut to be included in the paste. So let's go to options, and let's select untrim, and then click OK. All right, and then we'll grab that copy, and now we'll actually offset that copy. Let's offset that to 1. Click OK, and then we'll hide the copy. All right, cool. So now we have this surface that was created in ISDX. We have another surface that we copied and offset. So I'm going to go and sketch on that datum 7 plane that we created. All right, click sketch, and I might have to go into sketch setup and adjust this a little bit. Here we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a new sketch. We'll go to offset, and we'll do a chain. And we'll do, let's accept that, -1.5. And we'll do another chain here as well. Accept that. Okay, so there's our offset. Click OK. And then from here now, right, same thing, except we're outside of the ISDX environment. We're going to take that sketch, project it, and we'll project it onto the surface. Click OK. And then we'll also trim that surface. And we'll use that curve. It should let us here. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. That's why. Let's grab that guy. Go to trim. Now it's possible that I projected onto the wrong surface. Let's go to project. Let's make sure that we choose the correct surface. Yep, that's the wrong one. So let's remove that one and make sure that we're grabbing this guy. Okay, perfect. So we'll grab the surface now and we'll go to trim, select our curve, and we'll remove the outer portion of the surface. Click OK. Okay, very good. All right, so now from here, actually let's reverse that. Let me flip it and keep this surface. All right, so now from here, go to curve and I'll create a curve here. I have some interference here. Let's turn this off. Okay, so we have 3 curves selected, and we'll create 1 curve here. Edit definition. I might have to hide something here. It looks like I have some interference. Let's hide that. All right, free curve. There we go. Okay, so we have our first curve there. Let's complete that. And then create our next curve here. Let's go into edit and kind of move these and position the ends of the curve where we want them. That looks good. Okay, and then now we'll go into surface. And we'll choose these curves here. And then these as well. Okay, and then we're also going to create these cross chains. Let's go up here in this collector and select these 2 curves that we created. Here's 1, and then here's 2. So we also have this reparameterization tool. If I right-click, you can go to reparameterization, check this box, and this gives us a little bit more control in aligning the surface that we're creating. So we see we have these different grid lines here on this side, here on the right side as well. If I come in here, for example, and I right click, I can say add reparam curve. Let me go in this position, start down here. It's just now creating the U and V curves, but I can now take these and adjust these to kind of start to modify the quality of the curve that I have. Go on this side. Typically, I can just add one curve here and here and adjust it, but it's only giving me the option now to use U and V. But let's undo both of those. Control Z. Undo that. Let me go back into that surface. So there's that surface there. And select it, edit definition. Here we go. So now I can go in here and start to kind of modify the quality of how those lines are laid out. That's not too bad. Let's go to the right side too. Modify these a bit to straighten them out. We can see we have a lot of twisting going on here, so let's fix that. Let's right click up here. Modify that. All right, that looks better. So not as much of a twist there, and this isn't so bad as well. Let's create one more here. Position that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I will click OK, and there it is, right? So if I click OK here, right, because this is a skeleton model, right, all the changes that I made to this skeleton part, if I activate the top level assembly, and if I hide that style 2 surface, right, let's just hide it, right, and I go to external copy geometry, right. Guide is hidden. Let me see here. So now let's go into the external copy geometry, edit definition, references, and let me go in here now too as well and just, select the surface sets that I want. I'm gonna grab that surface. I'll also grab these here as well. All right. Click OK, and here it is. Right now, that's also not only now in that skeleton model, right, but it's also in that the surface 1 component that I created, right? So any changes that I made to that skeleton model will also change here. So if I go into, just to show that, for example, if I go into that skeleton component, right, and I take this surface and, style tool, and let's use that framework that we have. So let's grab sketch 4. Let's edit this dimension. Let's take that back to 15, for example. Regenerate, right? And if I hide this now, if I hide the style 2 surface, right, you can see that if I update this, regenerate, those changes that we made to the skeleton part are now also showing up in that that surface 1 part here as well. Okay. All right. One more thing that I wanted to show was kind of the combination of using different surfacing tools. All right, so let's unhide this. So for example, right, there's a couple of things I can do, right? If I want to span the gap, or if I want to fill in the gap between this surface here to the left and there's this surface here to the right, I do have the option to go back into the ISDX feature. I can go into the curve, I can hold shift, grab that point and that point, right? And adjust that tangency right here to curvature, for example, or tangent, grab an edge, surface between these, right? So if I go in here, grab that point, then from here, go into surface, It should. Let me go in here to just create a whole new one here. Let's go to ISDX, curve, create that curve here. All right. So typically allows me to change that tangency. Not sure why it's not allowing me to here, but just move forward here and create another edge. All right. And again, usually I can grab an edge, like in this example here, I can grab that edge, this edge, that edge, create my surface. I can adjust the tangency of that surface. I can right click here and say that should be tangent, right? Same thing here, right? So that's one way. Another way would be to use the boundary blend tool. So up here in the ribbon, I can go to boundary blend. I can grab, this edge, for example, hold control and grab that edge. And if I go to constraints, I can grab direction 1 first chain, and I can set that to curvature and grab my surface, right? And then same thing here. Curvature, right? And there's also these, I can create side curve influence and check that box, and then go to display drag handles. All right, and then from here I can adjust the influence, of that curvature. All right, so there's that. All right, but we also have the option, and I'll cancel that one out. We also have the option to go into the Freestyle feature, and this time I'll grab a plane, rotate that, and I'll kind of just position it where it needs to be. Then scale it. I can right click this and I can say reposition and kind of position my arrows here to get it where I need it, and then deselect, scale that down. Okay, then we'll transform and move it with the arrows and get it kind of in position where I want it. And I'll grab just this edge here and move that in. Okay, so what we can do here as well is let's first subdivide this face. I can grab this left side, this whole edge chain here. All right, and I can right click and I can say I want to take this curve and align this curve to this curve here, that previous surface. And I'll choose the curvature option and then select that edge and then click the middle mouse button. And now you can see I just aligned that Freestyle mesh to this surface here to the left, right? Same thing here to the right. I can grab that edge, right click, align, curvature, select that edge and align it, right? And then from here, let's grab that edge, drag that down. Let's take this edge, let's drag that up, okay? And then let's also take this edge, subdivide it, move that out a bit, okay? So you can also see that we can also align Freestyle meshes to our normal ISDX surfaces, right? We can also adjust that tangency, right? So if this needs to be tangent and not curvature continuous, go to tangent and change that there. All right. Change that back. Doesn't look too bad, all right? I'm also gonna turn off the images in the background there. So let's go to images, let's hide this one, and hide that one, and the third one as well, okay? All right, yeah, and then from here, you can see that we have, style 2, which has these 2 patches that we created. We have style 3 that has this cutout there. We have a freestyle surface that we created. We can now, merge all these together, right? So if I go to model, I can grab, that surface. These, right? Let's merge these together. Click OK. All right, so we have one merge feature. All right, let's change the filter to quilts. So we have one quilt. Let's merge it to that quilt. And same thing here. Grab these 2. Merge those together. And then finally, we can merge these together. Right, and there we have it, okay? Right, so from here, we could also trim, right? So if we have some trimming surfaces, we have one here, let's unhide that. We have another one down here, and unhide that. Right now, if we want to trim, we can do that. I can grab this quilt and say trim, and I can tell it to use this surface down here as a trimming surface. That looks good. Click OK, and same thing up here. There's a little portion on the top here that we want to get rid of. So we can go to select that surface, trim, then grab this surface up here. All right, and let's reverse the direction. Keep this bottom surface, and then trim that, and we'll hide these trimming surfaces here. Okay. All right, so and then once you have this, there's also the analysis portion of this, right? So if you want to analyze the continuity of a surface, you can go to the analysis tab. You can go to, reflection / zebra analysis and grab the surfaces that you want to look at, like these, for example. Right, we don't really have a hard edge here, so we have a decent transition from this surface here to this surface. There's also the connection, right? And this will allow us to basically display whether or not we are maintaining, tangency between the surfaces or curvature. So we can basically just select the surfaces that we want to take a look at, right? Like these, for example, and it'll tell us kind of where problems lie. So we say that we have a curvature check that failed here and there, so we have to go back in there and adjust that a little bit. Tangency didn't fail, so that tangency is fine. All right, we also have our offset analysis. We can grab this whole surface, then offset it to see that the results that we get. All right, doesn't look too bad there. All right. Okay, so from here, if I wanted to now, create a new part in the assembly, right? There's surface 1. We unhide that, and let's kind of just hide this surface. We'll hide that surface, and keep that freestyle surface there. Okay, so what I can do from here now is I can go to create, and we'll say this will be surface 3. and we'll align it to the coordinate system. All right, and then from here, I'm going to copy geometry. All right, and I'm just going to go to this option here. It's not external. So let's deselect the publish. Let's go to surface sets, and I'm just going to grab these surfaces here. Click OK. All right, and now you can see, right, that this copied geometry surface that I grabbed from the skeleton model, you know, is now in this SH surface 3 part. Okay, and again, that means now if I go back to that skeleton part and I go to that freestyle feature, right? If I modify this at all, so if I take that point, for example, and I move that up or move that down to here, and click OK. If I regenerate this now, it'll update my SH surface 03. So let's do a regeneration, Control G, and there it is, right? So if you can take the time to kind of lay out your skeleton framework here, create all of your sketches, create all of your curves, surfaces, and you get everything kind of in here the way you want it, you can use this skeleton model to kind of drive these changes or to drive the development of these different parts. Okay. All right, this is Creo 7. I have used Creo 8, but yeah, I started to make this webinar in Creo 7, so that's what I'm showing here. So yeah, so that leaves it up now to Q&A. So if there's anything that you want to ask me right now, feel free to ask. Oh yeah, so one question is, can the textures of the key shot be converted to 3D geometry so that we can print them? Yeah, actually, yeah, you are able to do that now. Let me take a look here and find exactly what that's called. Yeah, okay. So I believe that's just using the FreeMF file format. So yeah, if you can save it as a .freemf, I'm pretty sure that all those textures that you created, if you have a 3D printer that can do a multi-material print, you're able to do that from KeyShot. How did you initially set up the assembly with that skeleton model? Is it a normal part to start with and gets assembled? The same assembly? Yeah, so that's a great question. So if I go back to this guy here, yeah, so if I go up here, basically I go to create, just like I created this component down here, this third one that I ended with here. If I go to create, I can go to skeleton model. You can see it's grayed out right now because I already created it, but if it was there, I can just select that and then just start creating all my curves, surfaces like I would, outside of that skeleton feature in any component. So anything else? Andreas, no problem at all. Great question. All right, so that looks like that's about it for questions. So yeah, if there's anything else that you guys want to know, pertaining to what you've seen today so far, feel free to reach out to me. Also contact sales as well for anything pertaining to purchasing software, setting up training for yourself or your users where you work. You can also look at the videos that we already have posted on our YouTube channel. And then if you want to sign up for any other presentations, you can go to our site and sign up there. But yeah, feel free at any time to reach out to me or Boundary Systems sales to get up to speed on what's new in Creo 7, what's new in Creo 8, or what we have available for training. Okay. So that should be it. Thanks for joining. Have a nice day. Bye.